Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Tesis Dibra Maschel, Ella Omer of Yosef Chulu. Let's begin. Ella Omer of Yosef Chulu. Here in the Gemara, we had a question. Why in our Mishnah are the Oni and Balabayas Chaya for the Malacha of Eitzar Achnasa if in each and every case either there was an Akira from the other person's hand or a Nacha into the other person's hand? And we know that the Akira and the Nacha both need to have an area that's Dalit al Dalit. So we presented the answer of Rabbah and the answer of Rav Yosef, and each of them explained that our Mishnah holds that it's not necessary to have Dalit al Dalit, either because our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, or the Mishnah follows the opinion of Rebbe. So Tosfos is going to ask why Rabbah and Rav Yosef needed to answer in such a way. It would seem that there's an alternative answer that they could have given. Let's see the Tosfos inside. Kashal Rashba, this is difficult to the Rashba. Matzrichim Rabbah Rav Yosef. What do Rabbah and Rav Yosef need? Lahamid Mishnah, to establish our Mishnah, Tanaim, like certain Tanaim, that it follows Rabbi Akiva, but not the Rabbanon, or it follows Rebbe, but not the Rabbanon, but they both hold in the second parak of Eruvin, that a person's mind makes it a place, it makes the place to have a status of Dalad al Dalad. So why couldn't they just have answered that our Mishnah, the reason why the person is chayiv, is because since he did the akira from the other person's hand or into the other person's hand, his mind gives the hand of the other person the status of an area that's dalad al dalad. Since he wanted to do the akira from the hand or the anacha into the hand now becomes considered dalad al dalad, because that's what they both hold. Where do they hold this? So now that it'll be in purple because it's just completing the question, supporting it, and showing us where they actually say this. The Ka'amar Hasam, because it says over there in Eruvin, Rav Yosef, the Ka'amar Hasam Rav Yosef said over there, Hishtin v'rak, if an individual urinated or spat, Chayav Chatas, he's Chayav a carbon Chatas. If he would urinate from one area to another, or spit from one area to another, he's Chayav a carbon Chatas. So Parachan, the Gemara asks over there, V'abayin Mokim Dalad V'leka, but we need an area that's 4x4 for the Akira, and we don't have it. When a person urinates or spits, the Akira is not from an area that's Dalad al Dalad. Mashani, the Gemara answers, his mind makes it to be like a place that's Dalad al Dalad. And therefore, although the Akira is not from an area that's Dalad al Dalad, so we see that Rav Yosef holds that you don't actually need an area that's Dalad al Dalad. If the person is machshav the place, that already gives it the status of Dalad al Dalad. And the Gemara continues over there. So there we see Rav Yosef. Now we're going to see the rest of the Gemara relates to Rabbah. The Ilay Teimachi, because if we don't say this, that machshavta mishavile makim hada amar Rabbah, this that Rabbah said, zarak b'fi kelev, if an individual threw an item into the mouth of a dog to feed him, oy b'fi kivshin, or into the fire, chayev, he's chayev for a carbon chatos, because he carried on Shabbos v'chulu. Now over there we have the same question regarding the hanacha. When it was thrown into the mouth of the dog or into the fire, it doesn't have hanacha on an area that's dalad al dalad. So what do we see? So we see that both Rabbah and Rav Yosef hold that although we need dalad al dalad, one of the ways to substitute an actual place of dalad al dalad is through machshavta mishavim mokim. So why didn't they answer that, which they hold applies and is agreed by all opinions, instead of saying it's only Rabbi Kiva or it's only Rebbe? So that's the question of Tosfos. Tosfos answers with Tiras Rabbi Natam. Rabbi Natam answered the Hada Amar. There's this that it said in the Gemara over there. Machshavti mishaveli mokim, that his mind makes it to be considered a place that's 4x4. Hainu, this is heicha deloy nechalei, where it's not comfortable for him b'inyan acher in any other way. Ela b'inyan zeh, but rather only in this manner. If a person wants it to be done in a very specific way, then we say machshavti mishaveli mokim. And therefore, Tosfos is going to explain why over there it was specific, and by us it's not. But let's first explain the answer itself, how it relates to our question. Therefore, Rav and Rav Yosef could not have said that in our Mishnah they're chayiv because machshavta mishavle mokim, because the individuals don't need it to necessarily be akira from the other's hand or anacha into the other's hand. The goal is to either take the item or give the item. The person's not specific where it's taken from or where it's given into. He just as well would have removed it from a basket or into a basket, or from the ground or onto the ground. And therefore, it's not considered dalad al dalad. Now Tosfos will explain why over there it was done specifically, not dalad al dalad, and then we'll contrast it to us where it's not specific. Kamay mashtin v'rak, for example, by urinating and spitting. The only way to do it is in one way, that akira is not from an area that's dalad al dalad. She'enu yachal hashtin oy larik, that a person is unable to urinate or spit being an achar in another manner. That's the way it is, and it's automatic that the area is not going to be dalad al dalad, and therefore since the person wants it specifically in this manner, it's considered to be 4 by 4. So too when he threw it into the mouth of the dog, his desire is to feed the dog. Or when he threw the wood into the fire, he wants it specifically in the fire in order that should burn it. So therefore we see that over there, are cases where it needed to be specifically and exactly that way. When a person urinates and spits, it has to be that way. When he threw it into the mouth of the dog or into the fire, if he wants to feed the dog or burn the object, it must be that way. And therefore, since it had to be that way, as a result, we say machshavte meshavle mokim, it gives it the status of 4 by 4. Now Tosfos moves to a side point, which is the wording of the Gemara when it says he threw it into the mouth of the dog. Says Tosfos, we don't read over there v'nach b'fi kelev. Zarak v'nach b'fi kelev. He threw it and it rested in the mouth of the dog. We don't have the word v'nach. We just say zarak b'fi kelev. He threw it into the mouth of the dog. Why not zarak v'nach b'fi kelev? The nach mashma, because nach means the ein kavanas l'kach. It wasn't his desire. It says zarak, he threw it v'nach b'fi kelev, and it rested in the mouth of the dog. That indicates that he didn't actually want it. So therefore we have to remove the word v'nach, and the correct girsa is zarak b'fi kelev. He threw it into the mouth of the dog, and therefore he's chayiv because that's where he wanted it to be, specifically in that way. She's not concerned if the other individual receives it in his hand or with some other type of container. The person doesn't have any specific need for it to be into the other's hand or out of the other's hand. It was more either to give it to the person or to take it for himself. And therefore, we don't say machshavte meshavle mokim. Now Tosfos is an answer, a question on this explanation. We're saying over here that machshavte meshavle mokim works specifically when the person wants it in that exact manner. And the Gemara later on seems to indicate that that's not the case. So Tosfos will address it without actually asking the question. He's in a bavarn. He's going to address the question, but not in a question form. Therefore, it'll be in purple. V'hada amar l'kaman, this that it says later on, hava amina, we would think, hani mili, this is the case, heicha da achshav aliyadei, when he had in mind that it should be in his hand. So over there the Gemara says that not only if a person places something in another's hand is he going to be chayiv, but even if he throws it and it happened to rest in another's hand, he's going to be chayiv. And the Gemara explains what's the chiddush, that you might think that it's only when he had in mind to put it into the other's hand is he going to be considered chayiv, because achshav aliyadei, he gave importance to the other's hand. But if he threw it and it happened to fall in another's hand, then maybe he's patur. So from there it seems to say that when a person puts it into another's hand, that's considered machshav aliyadei. We say that that's considered that he gave the other person's hand importance, and it gets considered dalad al dalad. And we're saying that it has to be not just that he wants it and knows that it's going there, but he wants it in such a way that it's only that way and in no other manner. So the two, it seems that it's a contradiction between what we're saying here and over there. Over here we're saying it has only achshav aliyadei, or machshavte meshavle mokim, only works when he wants it in that exact way. And over there it seems that machshavte meshavle mokim or achshav aliyadei is enough if the person is aware and knows that it's being put into the other's hand, although he might just as be comfortable just as much if it was placed somewhere else. Even though he's comfortable that if the other person receives it in another manner, just as well as it was in his hand. So explains Tosfos, that's only because we said that we already said that a person's hand is important to him like 4 by 4. And therefore we thought that it's necessary that besides that it's already 4 by 4, maybe he also has to be aware. But if he's unaware that it's going to go into the other's hand, it's not enough that Yad Shaladim Chashuv Dalad. So in the Gemara over there, we're referring to a person's hand, which already has an elevated status. There we thought that maybe we need another extra condition, that he should at least be aware that it's going into the other's hand. But by everything else, like we're discussing here, by Zarak Befi Kelev or Befi Kivshan, into the mouth of a dog, or into the fire, his mind doesn't have the ability to make it a place, except when it's not comfortable for him to be in any other way. So in other words, by a person's hand, which is already dalad al dalad, we thought they need another detail, which is the basic awareness that is being placed in the hand. However, by something which doesn't have any status of dalad al dalad, there it has to be that the person wants it exactly and precisely in that place and in no other way.